Here are the top stories for today, September 17, 2019. Malacanang warns that President Duterte's order for heinous crime convicts to surrender immediately remains in effect. The National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, or NCIP, hails the government as protector and partner of IPs. A student activist who joined the NPA returns to her family after surrendering in Quezon. And the Bayanihan Dance Company wins its first World Folk Dance Championship in the Americas.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. 2 days are left for the heinous crime convicts who were prematurely released to surrender to authorities. Malacanang reiterates that those who refuse to surrender will be treated as fugitives. Rom Dulfo has the story.
The 15-day deadline given to some 2,000 heinous crime convicts for them to voluntarily surrender will stay, as only 400 of them have so far responded to President Duterte's order. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo said if the heinous crime convicts who were improperly released under the Law of Good Conduct Time Allowance, or GCTA, failed to meet the September 19 deadline, they will be considered fugitives. PNP spokesperson Bernard Banak announced that the number of convicts who surrendered have reached 435 as of Monday morning. Banak said 253 of them have been turned over to the Bureau of Corrections, while the rest are still undergoing process. The Criminal Investigation Detection Group, or CIDG, is set to deploy on Thursday 121 tracker teams nationwide to lead the hunting down of those who did not surrender. CIDG Deputy Director Bernabe Balba said each tracker team, composed of 5 personnel, will be deployed after the 15-day deadline. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
The Presidential Anti-Corruption Commission on Monday vows to send the message that the Philippines is not a haven for foreign fugitives. The PACC made the statement following the arrest of 3 Chinese nationals wanted for economic crimes in China. The 3 were arrested during a raid in Ortigas Center, Pasig City last September 11. They have victimized 1,000 individuals in an investment scam worth over 700 million pesos. PACC Chairman Dante Jimenez attributed the arrest of 3 suspects to the mutual commitment of both the Philippines and China to fight corruption. Jimenez said he expects more illegal aliens and fugitives being arrested under the agreement between the PACC and China's anti-corruption agency, the National Supervision Commission. Malacanang sees no need to issue more directives to the Department of Agriculture concerning its response to the African swine fever issue. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo said Agriculture Secretary William Dar is doing what he can to protect hogs from ASF. He said he is also holding on to the DA's promise that it is responding promptly to the incidents of ASF. For his part, Secretary Dar said the African swine fever episodes in Bulacan and Rizal may be considered an outbreak but not yet an epidemic. He said ASF was already contained in Barangay Pritil, Giginto, Bulacan, and in several barangays in Rodriguez, San Mateo, and Antipolo, Rizal. Measures such as depopulation and surveillance in ASF-infected barangays are also in place. The DA chief appealed to the media and general public not to ignite fears regarding ASF, as unverified and unvalidated reports could create an irreversible damage to the country's swine industry. A Filipino child leader from Donsol, Sorsogon is representing children in the Philippines and around the world at the commemoration of the 30th anniversary of the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of the Child. 17-year-old Zairel Barola is among the 3 child advisors chosen to speak and present at the UN event. Zairel has been working with Educo Philippines on child-friendly local governance projects in the Bicol region. She also serves as the president of the Donsol Children's Federation. She is joining 2 other delegates from Mexico and Canada at the event in Geneva, Switzerland. The UNCRC is the world's most widely ratified treaty in history. It marked the global recognition and commitment to respect, fulfill, and protect children's rights. The Geneva event gathers various UN agencies, human rights institutions, professionals, and children themselves to reflect on the implementation and achievements of the convention in the past 30 years. A Senate committee agrees to postpone the barangay and sangguniang kabataan elections. Meanwhile, PhilHealth warns against a supposed housing promo scam. More on this and other news around the metro from Benj Bondok.
The Senate Committee on Electoral Reform has recommended to postpone until 2023 the barangay and sangguniang kabataan elections. Barangay and SK elections will be rescheduled on the second Monday of May 2023 and will be held 1 year after the national and local elections. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier pushed for the postponement of the May 2020 barangay elections to give incumbent officials enough time to implement their programs. Meanwhile, PhilHealth warns of a supposed scam being circulated on social media in line with its anniversary in February 2020. The alleged scam requires netizens to like and share a page for a chance to win a new house, while another page is soliciting 170 pesos for PhilHealth registration. PhilHealth reiterates that it is not authorizing anyone to collect fees to register for membership. In other news, the PNP Maritime Group has launched an information campaign in coastal communities to keep them safe during floods. The campaign pushes for coastal cleanups, removing garbage from waterways, and caring for mangrove areas. The PNP assures that it has rubber boats and other underwater rescue gear ready for emergencies during floods. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondok.
Still to come, the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples hails the government as protector and partner of IPs. The Davao City Police honors a fellow cop wounded in a shootout against a wanted suspect. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alcalam has been a very active partner of the Singaporean government. So we share our data on the security and peace and development in the region. The dialogue with the youth is very important as of now because same with Singapore, our country, or even specifically in Mindanao, we are composed of diverse people. Singapore may be a small country, but they were able to address a lot of issues in terms of governance and creating a government that really works for their people.
A society is fragile if one group views another as a threat. It is important to overcome the forces of division and build bridges instead of walls. Dialogue is essential in order to counter prejudice, ignorance, and intolerance. Point again, diversity is a source of strength. It does not have to be a source of contention and conflict. It makes our societies more vibrant and our lives richer. It is something we must cherish and protect.
Knowing the background of the President of Singapore, she's the first female president there and from the Malay breed, and it gives hope for the Muslim females here in Mindanao that we can also do something.
The students should be a priority because they are the future generations. So they have to be included in such dialogues so that they do not have, they will not be influenced by such extremists.
To my fellow youth, we need to engage ourselves to different community engagements. We need to open our minds so that we can see the society in a better perspective because we are the leaders of today and of tomorrow.
The National Commission on Indigenous Peoples appeals to the United Nations to listen and appreciate the Philippines' efforts in promoting and protecting Indigenous peoples' rights. In a speech before the UN Human Rights Council on Monday, NCIP Chair Allen Capuyan said that contrary to claims made by the CPP, NPA, NDF, and its allies, the government is not the enemy of the country's Indigenous peoples, but their staunchest partner and protector. Capuyan cited the country's adherence to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. He also noted the passage of an Indigenous Peoples' Rights Act in 1997 and the creation of the NCIP among mechanisms to protect its IPs. On the other hand, Capuyan tagged the CPP-NPA in atrocities against IPs and their leaders, such as summary executions, enforced disappearances, and indoctrination of children into terrorism. He said they are also misinterpreting IPs as an anti-state supporters of the communist groups in international forums. Capuyan has called on all UN permanent missions to tell their capitals not to support the front organizations of the CPP, NPA, and NDF. The Department of Energy said it's still premature to provide any assessment on the possible impact of the attack on Saudi Aramco facilities on the Philippines oil sector. In a statement, the DOA said it is closely monitoring developments in the international market until the last trading day on Friday to fully assess any impact on prices. Secretary Alfonso Cusi has also ordered a meeting with oil companies this week to look into the sufficiency of inventory levels. The DOE expects any impact to oil prices to be felt by Tuesday of next week. For its part, Petron Corporation assured that there will be no supply disruption from their end as a result of the attack in Aramco's oil facilities. Chinese steel company Panhua Group is eyeing to start construction on its 300-hectare integrated steel manufacturing plant in Misamis Oriental by the end of the year. Panhua Group Board Chairman and Chief Executive Officer Xinhua Li said they will invest $3.5 billion over the next 3 years for the project's first phase, creating up to 30,000 jobs. Once completed, Lee said the plant will have an annual capacity of 10 million tons per year of steel slabs and galvanized color-coated steel coil, among others. He added bulk of their production will supply the local market, particularly the government's Build, Build, Build infrastructure program. Officials of Panhua Group and Philippine Economic Zone Authority on Monday signed a memorandum of agreement facilitating the establishment of the integrated steel mill. The Provincial Veterinary Office of Batanes has temporarily banned the entry of pork and processed meat in the province. The ban aims to prevent incidents of African swine fever in Batanes, despite the province having 0 cases of ASF infection. Meat traders have been urged to refrain from importing pork and pork products. Authorities are also working on preventing the entry of processed meat in ports and airports. Pampanga on Monday also ordered a temporary ban on the entry of pigs from other areas in Luzon to ensure that the province would not be affected by ASF. Governor Dennis Pineda issued Executive Order number 34 to protect the multi-million hog industry and meat processors and to safeguard public health. In Bataan, checkpoints have been set up in Hermosa, Dinalupihan, and the boundaries of Olongapo and Pampanga. Governor Albert Garcia has ordered to prevent the entry of pigs from infected areas such as Bulacan and Rizal. About 600 new police officers take their oath in the Cordillera region. Meanwhile, the Davao City Police honors a fellow cop wounded in action. More on this and other news from the provinces from Gigi Arcilia Agday.
The Police Regional Office in the Cordillera on Monday administered the oath of 600 new police officers in Camp Dangwa, Benguet. The new police personnel with the rank of patrolman and patrolwoman will undergo 6 months of training and academics. Procorps Chief Israel Ephraim Dixon advises the new police recruits to start adopting the lives of a uniformed personnel and render service to the community above personal interest. Meanwhile, the Bureau of Jail Management and Penology has moved 12 inmates from the Dumaguete City Detention and Rehabilitation Center following a foiled crisis at the facility over the weekend. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency also conducted an operation to inspect the facility of illegal drugs and other contraband items. The tension started between a jail gang leader whose live-in partner was arrested in a buy-bust operation and the jail warden accused of having a hand in her arrest. The 12 inmates were transferred to prevent a possible plot to destabilize the city jail's operation. In Davao City, Corporal Joel Villegas of Bunawan Police Station was awarded the Medalya ng Sugatang Magiting. Villegas was wounded in a shootout with homicide suspect Basilio Abrigoso and his brother Rogelio in Barangay Mahayag on September 14. Basilio was killed while resisting arrest, while Rogelio was apprehended. Brigadier General Marcelo Morales, Director of Police Regional Office 11, said the incident showed the dedication and exemplary service rendered by the Davao Police. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Gigi Arcilia Agday.
Up next, a student activist who joined the NPA returns to her family after surrendering in Quezon. The Bayanihan Dance Company wins its first World Folk Dance Championship in the Americas. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Ang maganda ho dito ay yung naibabalik ko yung pera ng bayan sa mga kababayan natin sa pamamagitan ng mga medical assistance. Ganito kasi simple yan. For example, kanina, pagdating sa hospital ng Pagadian, ng Zamboanga del Sur, ang nangyari ho ay nagbukas po ng malasakit center. Ang malasakit center is ang one-stop shop. Kung po may sakit, kung po mahirap, nandun lahat. Nandun ang PCSO, nandun yung PAGCOR, nandun yung GOH. At kung kailangan mo ng medical assistance, ibibigyan ka agad-agad ng medical assistance. Now, if kulang ang pera mo sa pagbayad ng iyong medical bills, ay yung malasakit center ay meron po silang sariling pondo. Magmabot na mga 5 to 10 million a month. Okay? So, imbis na magbabayad pa yung pasyente doon sa balance ng kanyang bill dahil may limit naman, may cap yung binibigay ng PAGCOR o ng PCSO o ng PhilHealth. Yung remaining balance na kaya po ng malasakit center. So, ito po ay maganda at talagang nakakatulong sa ating mga mahirap na kababayan.
A new People's Army Amazon whom human rights group Karapatan claimed to have been abducted by the military surrendered to the authorities in General Luna, Quezon on September 15. 24-year-old Alexandria Pacalda voluntarily turned herself into army and police personnel. She was then reunited with her family immediately upon her surrender. Pacalda was reportedly a mass communication student of Enverga University in Lucena City, Quezon, where she was an active member of the Gabriela Youth and the College Editors Guild of the Philippines before joining the NPA. The Army said Pacalda could avail of the government's enhanced comprehensive local integration program as she returns to mainstream society. Meanwhile, the group behind Hands Off Our Children hailed the surrender of Pacalda and her reunion with her family. They dismissed the propaganda of Karapatan, Kabataan Party List, Anak Bayan, League of Filipino Students, and other militant organizations that Pacalda was kidnapped by the military. And in our foreign news, Saudi Arabia is claiming to restore 2 million barrels or one-third of its disrupted oil production. Oil production dropped as a result of 2 reported drone attacks on Saudi's Aramco's facilities on September 14. The Wall Street Journal newspaper reports that the loss of nearly 6% of global oil output have soared crude prices. The newspaper claims that the strikes knocked out 5.7 million barrels of daily production. It further said that officials were discussing shipping their extra inventory to meet short-term supply needs. Meanwhile, Egypt, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain expressed solidarity with Saudi Arabia while condemning the said attack. Kuwait urged the international community to redouble efforts to combat such attacks. Pakistan, Jordan, and the Palestinian Authority have also affirmed their support to Saudi Arabia. The Arab League and the Organization for Islamic Cooperation joined voices condemning the drone attack on Saudi oil facilities. The provincial government of Zamboanga del Sur has accorded recognition to a tricycle driver and a beautician for serving as role models. Zosimo Eramis was cited as the most outstanding tricycle driver for showing discipline, safety, courteousness, and professionalism. Ray Simafranca was chosen as the most outstanding beautician since he gives honor and prestige in the field of beauty care in Pagadian City and the whole province. The recognition of outstanding residents is part of the 67th anniversary celebration of this province. The awarding ceremony was held Sunday night during the Employees' Night of the week-long celebration of the 67th Araw ng Zamboanga del Sur. Filipino culture and talent shines anew on the international stage as the Bayanihan dance troupe bags its latest world prize title in folk dancing. Here is our report.
Bayanihan, the national dance company of the Philippines, has surfaced as a victor in the international arena of folk dancing. The dance troupe won the grand prize of the first Federation of International Dance Festivals Brazil World Championship in Nova Prata on Sunday. What left a mark on the audience was their piece Muslim Mosaic, which garnered a standing ovation from the crowd on top of their presentations titled People Under the Sun and Call of Lumads. This award is Bayanihan's 13th World Prize title. The competition was a feature of Nova Prata's 15th International Folklore Festival, an annual affair held from September 11 to September 15 that drew outstanding performing arts groups from different nations. Bayanihan bagged the first place, followed by Mexico at second place, while Russia was picked as People's Choice awardee and Slovakia as special jury prize recipient. By winning over state dance companies from Europe and Latin America, Executive Director Suzy Moya Benitez said this win makes Bayanihan the first folk dance champion in the Americas. Bayanihan was organized under the Bayanihan Folk Arts Center with a focus on indigenous art forms in music, dance, costumes, and folklore. Bayanihan has performed in 6 continents, 66 countries, and 700 cities worldwide since it was organized in 1957. In 1998, Bayanihan was formally designated as the country's national folk dance company. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondo.
Let's take another look at today's biggest stories.
Malacanang warns that President Duterte's order for heinous crime convicts to surrender immediately remains in effect. The National Commission on Indigenous Peoples, or NCIP, hails the government as protector and partner of IPs. A student activist who joined the NPA returns to her family after surrendering in Quezon. And the Bayanihan Dance Company wins its first World Folk Dance Championship in the Americas.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.